What I find within myself is an exceeding amount of weakness, fear, insecurity, and I think where God calls each of us to be bold, that if Christ is enough, like, how would we not be bold? We were doing a Q&A with John Schneider, and I asked him, like, we struggle with being bold because we see all this weakness and insecurity inside of, how do we be bold? And he's like, well, I don't think we actually need to be bold. Something like that. I don't think he's like, yeah, just do it. He's basically like, if Christ is so amazing to us, then all we want to do is just share it. It's not about like, well, go be bold with it. It's like, no, fall in love with Christ. And all of a sudden we'll have enough courage inside of us to just say, hey, I want to share this thing with you that is so beautiful to me.
Every time I turn on my phone or the TV, it feels like the world's falling apart. The news is full of chaos, and if that's all you ever see, it's easy to believe everything's just getting worse. But that's not what I'm seeing behind the scenes. In real life, in our communities, I'm watching God move like I've never seen before. I've seen lives restored, churches growing, revival happening at business events, people stepping out in faith, and God giving dreams and visions, calling people to rise up and make a difference. And that's why I started Transforming Communities, because I want to show you what God is actually doing right now. I want to introduce you to my friends, people who are stepping up, taking risks, and transforming their cities for the kingdom. So if you're tired of bad news and you've been wondering if God still moves, He does, and these stories prove it. To support what we're doing and to hear more stories like this, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to be notified every time a new podcast drops, just click the bell icon next to the subscribe button. With that being said, let's jump into the Transforming Communities podcast. This episode is brought to you by our friends at Be Bold for Jesus. If you've ever felt the urge to live out your faith more boldly, to step up and make an impact in your workplace, your church, or your community, this conference is for you. The Be Bold for Jesus conference is coming back to Spokane, Washington. It's a weekend packed with worship, encouragement, and practical tools to help you live out your faith confidently. You'll hear from incredible speakers who are living examples of what it means to be bold for Christ. Tickets are on sale now at beboldforjesus.org. That's beboldforjesus.org. Grab your tickets today and let's be bold together. All right, today's episode is all about being bold for Jesus in your everyday life. I sat down with Brandon West and James Kwon at the Be Bold for Jesus conference, and we're getting into it, man. We're talking about faith, business, and what it actually looks like to use what you do every day to impact people and advance the kingdom of God. We talk about fear, we talk about boldness, sharing your faith, and how businesses can be platforms for ministry if you're willing to use it. There's some fun moments in this one, but there's also going to be things that are going to hit you and probably challenge the way you think. So with that being said, let's get into it. All righty. I'm here with Brandon and James. Woo. And man, I'm comfortable when I got the leather on and the backwards hat.
You look super cozy.
And this is how I am 90% of the time. And this is you guys have become pretty cool to hang out with. And I was like, let's do the podcast with the both of you. You guys are hilarious together.
Very special.
And I was like, we're just going to riff and have a great time and talk about Jesus and being bold. But it's been cool to get to know you guys.
For sure.
And for those of you that were not at the Be Bold for Jesus conference, you missed out and you need to get tickets for next year. Come on.
2026, let's go.
You got to
That's
be here. They were on stage before I was, and you guys were doing like a duet song, and it was called Pew Potato, and it was hilarious. So we got a couple little comedians here, but also entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And so this is going to be pretty fun. I think it's awesome to meet with people that are advancing the kingdom of God in the area of business. And
that is my love language, man.
Yeah,
You got
it's
words
true.
of
But it
affirmation,
also,
physical touch.
you guys have also not only are using and expanding the kingdom of God through business, but you're connecting your business to areas of need. And I love that. And this is what this podcast is about. It's about transforming communities, and that's what you guys are doing. And you're transforming it through business and then helping people in need. And we're going to get into that. But none of that would be possible without being bold. And we are doing this podcast in partnership with Be Bold for Jesus. This is a collab podcast specifically with them. And transforming communities is not possible without being bold for Jesus. So my first question to you, Brandon, is what is God asking you to be bold about?
Yeah. What I find within myself is an exceeding amount of weakness, fear, insecurity. And I think where God calls each of us to be bold, we heard it this week at the conference, that if Christ is enough, like, how would we not be bold? As I closed out the first day in prayer for the Be Bold for Jesus conference, I just asked the Lord to give us an overwhelming sense of the beauty of Christ so that would be enough to make me want to be bold. We were doing a Q&A with John Schneider, and I asked him, like, we struggle with being bold because we see all this weakness and insecurity inside of, how do we be bold? And he's like, well, I don't think we actually need to be bold. Something like that. I don't think he's like, just do it. He's basically like, if Christ is so amazing to us, then all we want to do is just share it. It's not about like, well, go be bold with it. It's like, no, fall in love with Christ. And all of a sudden we'll have enough courage inside of us to just say, hey, I want to share this thing with you that is so beautiful to me.
Come on, man. Of course, when we got the two comedians on here, the phone goes off.
It was mine.
That was his alarm to let him know that he has to do a podcast.
That was your alarm. Hey, man, we're ahead of schedule.
Yeah,
which
mine's gonna go
my
off
wife would be really proud of me right now. So I'm glad that alarm went off because that just shows how awesome we are doing right now. You got 3 ADHD guys ahead of schedule. Can you believe that? Let's go. Listen, so okay, that's phenomenal. What did you, when you were talking with him about that, and he was just saying, well, why? When you're talking to Johnny, basically just made it sound like I don't even really think about being bold because I just love Jesus. So why would we not be bold?
Yep. I think that's the idea. Is like, why is it so easy for me to share things that I love with people?
Yeah.
Except Jesus.
Really?
I mean, I just think about like times when you're hanging out with friends, like, oh, how you doing?
Yeah.
You're like, hey, what's the new fun restaurant you've been to recently? What's the greatest new movie? You're like, oh, you gotta hear about fill in the blank. Anything except Jesus Christ. In my life, one of the things I've seen, I shared this with my sons recently on one of our daddy date nights. We do one daddy date night each month with my sons.
That's tight.
When we were out on this date, I just said to him, I believe that the challenge and difficulty of sharing Christ with other people has actually been one of the greatest apologetics in my life for the existence of God and the reality of the divinity of Jesus Christ. Think about it. Like, everything is so easy to talk about and share and be excited about. And then when I'm like, do you know Jesus? It's like the hardest thing ever. I'm like, has there ever been a better apologetic in my life for the existence and the reality of spiritual warfare, except for the fact that the name of Jesus is so incredibly challenging to talk about?
Man, I think so many people can relate to that, and I think that'd be interesting that, the more we were talking about that earlier, boldness is so unique, but I think when you're scared and you do it anyways, that's where courage is.
Yeah,
that's what
amen.
courage is.
Yeah.
So I feel like when the Lord says be strong and courageous, that's what he's meaning. Like, for some of us, over time, it just gets easier and easier and easier to share your faith when you're doing it. And I think maybe for me, because of what I do for work, it automatically comes up. So I don't really notice it. But I remember those days, man. I remember being so scared, especially at high school, going back and being a Christian after I'd been selling pot and partying for 3 years. And Jesus just radically changed my life. But it is like so scary to start talking about it. But you can't help it because it just comes out when people ask you what's going on, why is your life changed? But yeah, I remember those days of just being like, do I do it now?
Yeah.
Do I do it then?
Can I share this
I'm
story?
really nervous, So like, James, what about you? Like, what's God talking to you about being bold
let me
about
share the
right now?
story about that specifically.
Yeah.
I remember in college, I got saved when I was 15, kind of resaved in college. And resaved, is that a thing?
No.
Theologically inaccurate there.
Yeah.
But I remember I was on a train and I was
Recommitted.
Recommitted. There you go.
There's the Baptist term.
I was sitting next to this guy, and he seemed like like he's got his stuff together. And this trip is like Providence to New York City. It's like a 3-hour trip. About 2.5 hours of it, the whole time I was thinking like I should tell this guy. I just had this feeling like I need to tell this guy about Jesus. And I'm like I'm like a nervous. I don't know what he was thinking. He's like, this kid is really strange because I'm like jittery. I'm like, and then finally, like 2 hours and 30 minutes in, I lean over and I'm like, if you were to die today, do you know where you would go?
That's how you did it?
That's how I started the conversation. I don't even like know his name. And he was like, yeah, I think I'd go to heaven. I was like, okay.
You hit him with the Foursquare. Just boom, boom, boom.
No, it was terrible. That was it. That was the whole conversation. And I stopped and I felt so defeated because I was like, I took this leap and I couldn't get the words out. But the reality was, like, as I chew on that recently, as I got resaved again, as I came back to this realization of the beauty of Christ and getting into his word, I see that point in time as a time when Jesus was exercising my boldness.
Yeah.
And it's not like there's this moment when my son, I have 3 kids, 10, 7, and 2. When my kids take a step, I'm not like, that was stupid. You know, like you did such a bad job. No, I'm like, if they do something small, a step towards it, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. Great job. Yes. Keep coming. Right. Yeah. And so I feel like that step in boldness was this, like, God going, okay, you did. Okay. That wasn't, you know, like the outcome, not so great, but I'm so proud of you. Thank you. Awesome. Yeah, like so step forward again, like do this next thing, do this next thing. And then spiraling that into, you know, big acts of boldness, stepping out in faith, being on stage, doing that stuff, it feels a lot easier taking those little steps first.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's that's got to be one of the most amazing things when you finally get through that and you get to talk to somebody. Tell me a story. So that was the awkward story. What's a fun story? What's a story of, like, when you finally got through? And how did you do it? Was it more natural? Did you're a Christian, you're just talking and just having conversation, and then Jesus comes up? I think sometimes people feel like what you're talking about is the only way to share their faith is you got to hit them with do you know where you're going to heaven? Or do you know if you're going to heaven when you die? But if you have a relationship with somebody, you've been talking to them for 2.5 hours, there's ways to kind of weave in the conversation of, hey, where are you going? I'm going to a Be Bold for Jesus conference. Or, you know, hey, I go into church you know, yeah, me and my wife are going to church on Sunday. Like, there's little ways to sneak in like a conversation starter, and somebody will be like, oh, you know, that's interesting. Why do you go to church? And I've found that to be the easiest way for me to evangelize to people. And just always purposefully, every time I have a conversation with somebody, saying something that's going to let them know I'm a Christian to start the conversation. Yeah. Instead of just thumping over the head with you know what I mean? Like, that was something that took me a while to learn, because how I was trained and how I was learned to share the gospel was 1,000% just like that.
Right.
Well, let's begin to weave in the conversation about business for a minute.
Yeah.
One of my longest standing employees at the company, 10.5 years that she's been now with a company. Like, she's the first decader at FOS, at my agency. The first 3.5 years of her being at this company, I would it was Christian everything. Like, hey, what about this? Hey, you want to come to my church? Hey, you want to come to this event? Hey, you want to come to this small group? Hey, you want to come to this Bible study? No, that's not where I'm at. No, not faith. No. Business can be a platform for the gospel. We have a leadership development program at FOS. It's 5 months long for 3 years. And so 15 months total, different homework assignments, book assignments, etc. At the end of the first year, the 5th month is all about purpose. And the 5th homework assignment is give a talk to our team on purpose. What your purpose, related to your purpose, give a talk on purpose. A couple weeks into it, I'm checking in with her. How you doing? Like, how's the homework assignment coming? You got direction? She goes, I really am lost on this. I said, well, what do you think your purpose is? She's like, I don't know. Whoa. Well, what are things that you're passionate about in life? She listed out a few things, and I just said, hey, Janelle, I just want to be clear. Like, if God's not real, none of the things that you just mentioned matter at all in this life. And for the first time in 3.5 years, she's got tears in her eyes, and she just goes, then how do I know God? I bought her a John MacArthur study Bible, tabbed out the Gospel of John, the book of James, the first book I ever read as a Christian. 3 months later, she was baptized in our church, and a month later, she was serving in children's ministry. Wow. To this day, she sees part of her purpose as now ministering to moms who have gone through traumatic births like she had twice now. She gets to live out her purpose. Business as a vehicle for the gospel.
Well, you're with your employees so much.
There's a
And
movement
we
out
do
there called the
life
94X movement.
together.
The 94X movement. If you look at, according to the research, the average Christian spends like 1.5, 1.75 hours in a church. The average American spends 1.5, 1.75 hours per month in a church. The 94X movement says, you understand they spend 94 times that in the business, correct? What will you do with the 94X?
Anne Graham's father, we may have heard of him, Billy Graham, prophesied that the next great awakening would happen in the marketplace.
Yep.
And then that followed with many other evangelists, ministers. They feel this movement happening. Marketplace chaplains, corporate chaplains of America. There's something going on for sure.
We had somebody on just the pod the other day, and they were talking about, they said revival happens when the people in the pews are preaching the gospel more than
That has to
the
be.
pulpit, just at the pulpit.
Yeah.
And I believe that with all my heart. And I think if all we're hearing is the gospel preached on Sundays, that's not revival. Revival is when everybody in the pew starts sharing the gospel Monday through Friday.
That's right.
Retweet, my friend. What's been fun, and this is something James and I are super passionate about in our businesses, is going, who are the people that God's calling us to minister to? We practice at FOS and at Figments. The practice that we call is called business as a ministry.
Yeah.
How does your business as a ministry? How does your business function as a ministry? We would just ask the question, if your business functions as a ministry, who is your ministry? You ask any nonprofit in the world, like, who do you serve? They're like, homeless.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Women in sex trafficking. You ask a business, like, who's your who? Like, who do you do ministry to? They're like, we talk about 5 areas at FOS and Figments. We do ministry to our team members, their family members. That's a really fun one.
Yeah.
Our clients, our vendors and suppliers, like people who clean the office and they do things for our accountant.
Yeah.
And then our local and global ministry. Those 5 we put as our platform before the Lord and go, God, help us use our business as a platform for ministry, love, evangelism, and compassion to those 5 groups of people.
Where did you guys get the faith and the boldness to start your companies? So like when you started FOS, where did you get the boldness and faith to do that? And when you started Figments, what happened to give you the boldness and the faith to do that? Because it takes a lot of guts and a lot of boldness to step out in faith to start a company.
Yeah. Mine's such a weak story. It's like I'm doing websites for free for my church because the 94-year-old guy has the scrolling marquee banner, in like HTML. And I'm like, this is horrible, dude. So do a free site for my church. Friend's like, wow, it's amazing. Will you do one for me? I was like, yeah, dude, $300. Friend sees that one. He's like, will you do one for me? I was like, yeah, man, $3,000. I'm like, wait, this is a business, And I agree.
Yeah.
We talk about like the challenge of what we call golden handcuffs, which is the idea of like you go into corporate America, you start making a lot of money, you got some golden handcuffs on you now. It's going to be really hard for you to get out of that job. I was making $18,000 a year teaching, so it was a little easier. I just went to 5 men in my church and I said, you are men that I know, like, and trust. I will submit myself to you. Do you think when I have a kid right now and a kid on the way that I should surrender what is a stable income and go and do this? And all 5 were in unanimous agreement that I should go and do this. And so at their council,
said, what's your stable income? You said 18 grand a year. They said,
well, then you should go.
But as one of the things that makes entrepreneurship so hard is to give up any stability.
Yeah.
I have to go land every contract. Sales and marketing, that's on you and Jesus.
I don't think there's any stability in entrepreneurship, especially when you're starting.
Yeah, so if you're making $18,000 a year, there's still stability in that. So that's where that came from. I think the bigger shift for me was transitioning to become a business as a ministry. You can start and like, this would be crazy. What if we made $36,000 a year? Yeah. We'd be rich, babe. That was like the first thought. But when probably 4 years into the business where God said, I've got a bigger purpose for this company than just you being able to like make $36,000 a year. And when God was like, run it for me, that was the bigger shift.
Run it for me. I like that. Yeah.
I love that. We're going to get into that more.
Yeah.
What was the thing for you?
Well, let me tell my story this way, because many people ask this, even in the secular world, about how did you start? What's your founder story, et cetera. And so what I get to tell people is my testimony through Figments. Very similar to Brandon. I had some side business taking on whoever would wave money at my face. I would take it for like logos and websites.
That's startup life.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, you'll pay me to make a logo. Great, you'll pay me to do a website. And I had so much side work that it was starting to surpass my normal job. I couldn't take on any more side work, and that made me sad. And so prayed about it, thought about it, convinced my friend to quit college, and I would quit my job, and we started together. And we put a number in place. I'll share. It's we were like, if we could do like $250,000 a year, I feel really good about this.
Yeah.
It's more than we're making, and 2 young guys making $250,000, that'd be great. We hit that number in July our first year, and then finished almost double. And this is the story I get to tell, you know, normal people. And they're like, yeah, you're a smart business dude. And then I get to tell them this part. In March that next year, we had to pay something called taxes that I had never heard of this. And I'm like, oh my gosh. We paid taxes. It was like 30 something K. And then we paid payroll, which at the time was like 10K, which I wish my payroll was 10K. We paid payroll, we paid taxes. And I remember $347 in the bank account left. And my heart sank, and I felt like a complete failure. And I knew if we didn't do something, we would go out of business. And this is the part, again, I get excited to tell people because they ask me my founder story. I can go, I broke down and I prayed a lot and I cried a lot and I asked my church to pray for me. And I came to this realization, kind of exactly what Brandon said. I was in prayer and God said, whose business is this? And I thought, yeah, you know what? God, you're right. This is your business. So if it's your business, you got me. And if you want it to fail, it's going to fail. So I guess it's fine. So I just kind of had this like immense weight lifted off my shoulders. And I felt like, okay, you know what, God? Yeah, I'll get a job. I'm okay. I'll be fine. This was a great learning experience. And the way I tell it is, I guess he wanted us to continue because we closed a couple things. We got really serious about our numbers and paid our taxes earlier. And then we started to grow like 20, 30% from there. And
wow,
and
that's big.
That part of the story, like when I tell some people, they're like, they don't know what to do with the middle part there. And oftentimes I go, yeah, what do you know, like, where do you put your faith? If I want to like have a conversation about faith, I'll be like, yeah, where do you put your faith when hard times come in business?
Wow. Yeah.
And that becomes an opportunity. That's beautiful.
Yeah, and the conversation just naturally flows. But I think you're even that makes me have so many other questions of like culture and a culture of a business. And I think that's one of the hardest things as a CEO. Like you're trying to figure out, how do I build a culture at work that is the culture that I feel like God's calling us to have? And you're dealing with people, and people are messy, and there's so much that goes with it. How do you guys make a business that's unapologetically Christian? Do you, in your culture, how do you weave biblical principles into it? And do you, like on your About page, share your testimony? I'm just really curious to hear how you guys do that.
I feel remiss. We haven't mentioned C12 yet. So C12 is an organization that Brandon tells it so well. How did you? I'm going to try my best to say it. It's the largest group of business leaders in the world for faith-based CEOs to come together. Over 4,000 or 5,000 CEOs now around the world. This is how Brandon and I met because we've been a part of this organization. I don't know if this is true for you. When I joined, I bragged about being the youngest one around the C12 table, but I loved having older people who, one, cared about me, cared about my business, had some history about business, and then, but had the Holy Spirit to pour into me the truth, right? And I just realized I have my C12 socks on.
Oh my goodness!
So I'm like really repping.
You said C12. I was good at branding, dude.
Super going hard on
this cat's got socks.
But okay, so C12
helping captive socks coming out next month.
That's right. So C12, I think, is an amazing way for CEOs to little by little come to answer exactly what you said, Caleb. Enrich their organization and their business with a culture of ministry, putting God first, making him the owner, setting new vision for where the mission and ministry is going, how it's going to happen. Brandon helps write the curriculum for C12. His agency does that. So he's able to articulate it. But I mean, I have to admit, before I started, it was a mess. Like we didn't. I have no idea how it happened. But C12.
I'm glad you
gives us
said
a
that, bro.
framework.
Because let's be real, we don't know.
There's no playbook, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
and we need help, and we need the older generation to pour into us and
Amen.
teach us all the things that they learned and help
Amen.
us through it. Because, we got dreams and visions, but we need help.
I think building this Christ-centered culture in a company is one of the best things that a leader does to stay faithful to the calling that God has on business leaders to go, the business must be for me. That's what this looks like. One of the greatest tragedies I've ever heard come out of a business leader's mouth is this idea that you shared of like, people are messy. Yeah. And so there's a saying in business, like, business would be great if it didn't involve people. And I'm like, oh my goodness, that must be the greatest forsaking of a calling, the greatest confession of unfaithfulness
believer,
in
sure.
leadership for a Christian leader that you could possibly hear come out of an entrepreneur's mouth.
Yeah.
Actually, the best part.
If you, because what ends up happening is you end up like loving your employees. They become like family, and you're literally praying for them, thinking about how to connect. And even when we have ones that aren't the right fit, sometimes I'll hold on to them a little too long just because I'm hoping they might be if I like them, but I know it's not the right fit. So there's just I'm glad that you're saying that.
Do you still use the term family?
No.
At work? Yeah,
Nope.
we've started to shift away from that mentality because you have to fire them, sometimes.
It was,
Or you do what I did and eventually just hire a COO and he has to figure that out.
here's how we think about this at FOS. Our mission at the agency is to cultivate true flourishing in people and organizations while reflecting the love of Jesus to the world. So people on the About page, you're going to see that. We have done a really good job of saying like, hey, people come to FOS because they need great marketing solutions. Let's do an exceptional job of showing how excellent we are at this and how proprietary our thinking is and our processes and our people. And then go, hey, here's the culture and purpose that sits behind it that makes it this powerful thing that you're getting to experience right now. But we're really bold about that. When trying to build this Christ-centered culture in pursuit of true flourishing, we've at FOS kind of broken that down and said, look, we think that people true flourishing, that happens through a pursuit of financial flourishing, intellectual flourishing, spiritual flourishing, physical flourishing, emotional flourishing, and relational flourishing. And we've taken 2 months out of every single year to go through those 6 things. It's an annual curriculum now that we go through every year at FOS to invest 2 months into each of those forms of flourishing at FOS to create a consistent rhythm of going, we want you experiencing shalom. Let me teach you what that looks like, what that means, how that comes from the Lord, what true holistic flourishing looks like, and build a culture that's built around that.
This episode is brought to you by Helping Captives. You know, it's crazy how many people don't realize that human trafficking isn't just somewhere else. It happens right here in our own communities. Helping Captives is a faith-based anti-trafficking organization that exists to provide freedom, hope, and opportunity to survivors of sex trafficking across the United States. They do this through their different services such as emergency and stabilization, 24/7 around-the-clock care, professional counseling, and much more. If you're a survivor of sex trafficking and need help, or you're wanting to support a survivor's journey, take the first step at helpingcaptives.org. That's helpingcaptives.org.
That's great. That's very good.
But the question is, what happens when somebody walks into the company and they go, I'm not there?
Yeah.
I sat down with a new employee once. He was not a Christian. And at the end of our little onboarding time, he goes, can I ask a question? This is his first day at the company. Can I ask a question? I was like, yeah, that's what I'm here for. What do you want to know? And he goes, do we only hire Christians? And I was like, okay, first, thanks for asking that. 2, that's illegal, so no. And he goes, phew. And I was like, why do you ask? And he's like, man, I sent our website to my family, and the first thing they came back with, and they said, did you see Jesus on their website? Did you see that? He's like, of course, Mom, I'm working on this. Of course I saw that. Well, how are you dealing with that, son? And I was like, really curious. I'm like, dude, how are you dealing with that? And he goes, if our mission statement is to reflect this love of Jesus to the world, I see in this historical figure a love that is worth modeling to the world. And so if that's our mission, then I'm fine with that and I'm on board. And I said, bro, that's why I hired you here. I see that love in you.
There's so I learned this in my C12 group. My chair, who I think He's inarguably one of the greatest, best chairs, I think, in C12. But he always talks about the stat, 11 out of 14. If you asked, it's from Barna. So Barna is a deep research agency. Yeah. So they ran this study, and part of the study, one of the questions was, would you rather do business with someone who professes their faith, like a company who professes their faith, prefer not to do business with them, or it doesn't matter? 11 out of 14 say they would prefer to do business with a company that is vocal about their faith or has faith as part of their values. 2 of them say they don't care. 1 says they would prefer not to.
Wow.
Yet we are shackled by fear by the 1 out of 14 that says, I prefer not.
That's great, James.
So my story is, by the way, Brandon's agency is in Gainesville, Florida, which I'm going to say is, no offense, bro, it's easier to be a Christian, I'm going to say, right? You can put Jesus on your website and you don't get alienated as much. Our agency, though we're now distributed, we're around the world, but we started in Rhode Island. Did you know Providence has fewer Christians than the 1040 window? So the percentage of evangelical Christians in the 1040 window, 1.9%. Providence, Rhode Island, 1.7% Christians, evangelical Christians, Bible-believing Christians. So a little harder to put Jesus and then just hope that somebody's going to jive with that and want to work with us. But from a marketing perspective, they would prefer to do business with a business of faith.
And you're going to attract the people.
Yeah. Well, so
that are there, and then that's going to show. They're going to see a different culture. They're going to be tweeting. They're going to be sharing on Facebook and Instagram what the culture at work, and it kind of shares the gospel for you in that way.
I'm getting excited. This is one of my favorite things.
We can pivot to marketing, boys. I know you want to go there. I'm just trying to
I love
ease
this.
into it.
So two things. One, we had a guy who we hired, and he didn't know we were Christians. So we were doing this is just when we were starting C12, so we didn't have a lot of like Christian stuff on our website. And he said, it was like a month in, and he was like, I wish I knew you were a Christian company before I got hired here. And I was like, oh man, is that a problem? He's like, that might be a problem for me. I was like, well, I am a Christian. I care about you deeply. But yeah, if you don't fit with that, he's like, yeah, I think I'm going to go. I was like, okay, yeah. No animosity, let him go. But I mean, our culture was clear as soon as he stepped in the door. It wasn't clear on our website.
Yeah.
Now we make it clearer in the interview process. We're careful about how we phrase it, but I'm going to share with you the best way I've ever heard, which is a friend of mine, good friend in C12. His name's Dean Harrington. He ran a mortgage company, just sold that. He has this amazing speech. I won't do it perfect justice, but I'm going to give you the general idea of it. Whenever anybody comes to apply at his business, he says something like this. He's like, hey, this is all great. You've passed all the levels. I just want to let you know something. I'm the Jesus freak in the corner office. That's me. You don't need to be a Christian. We have lots of non-Christians here. But here's what you need to know. I believe in one true God. That's good for you, because that means I don't have the God of money. I don't have the God of sex. I don't have pornography. Like I don't have a God that is going to tear me away from these good things. I care about you deeply. That's what I'm called to do. And I care about you, and I need to love my neighbor. This is what I'm called. So he's like kind of going through these biblical principles with them. And most people I think are like, okay.
It's incredible leadership.
But he does that. And so we've adopted that in the interview process. My last thing is like, hey, I just want to let you know, I get to share that story. And I say, hey, one time we had somebody who really didn't like it. I need you to know this is the culture. Are you okay with that? Do you care about that? And they're like, well, I'm not a Christian. That's okay that you're not a Christian. But I like that. I like that you care. I like that you do these things. It's like, oh, awesome. Oh, and the last thing, this is an important part. He says, every good thing that we have in this business, we do a profit share, we do bonuses, we do a great PTO. Like we have a nice office. We have all of these things. Every single thing is built because I'm a person of faith and I believe I need to care for you in that way.
Wow.
How attractive that is for people.
Yeah.
I love that, man. The you guys both seem to have a heart for marketing.
It's weird. Wait, where are you going to go with that?
I'm just curious, as a businessman and a business, oftentimes we in ministry don't listen to the business owners that are in our church enough. We don't listen to the business owners enough in our nonprofit. Your guys' brains are, built to create and to be analytical, and there's numbers and there's marketing. And oftentimes a lot of people that get into ministry, they're called to just do ministry, and they might not be called to be the CEO. They might be called to be the minister or the programs person, but they want to run the company. And so the ministry actually ends up failing because they're got the right butt in the wrong seat. What would be wisdom from two business guys to people that are in ministry about getting the right butts in the right seats and the importance of good branding and good marketing?
I feel like you're asking so many questions in that one question.
There's a lot.
Because your
that's
questions
true. That's a lot.
are about marketing and branding.
Yeah.
But I actually think most of what you were just talking about is a leadership problem
And culture.
A culture problem.
Yep.
You're contrasting the idea of a business being really good at business and entrepreneurship and systems and processes and organizational architecture and things like that, and then in nonprofits like, please give us money. I think I should hire someone soon. And it's like, and then the church is like, hey, thank you so much for coming on Sunday. I don't know if we're gonna have anything for you this week, and I haven't emailed you in like 6 months, and I know you don't understand what's going on in the church, but please come. And it's like these and.
Yeah.
But then also the business is going, we're making a ton of money. What are we doing with the profit? What are we doing with our people? What are we doing with our culture? How do we leverage the things God's given to us? And as like John Piper wrote this book, he said, Brothers, it was called Brothers, We Are Not Professionals. And he's speaking to the pastorate, and he's saying like, hey brothers, pastors, we're not supposed to be these business leaders, these blah, 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 blah. And I'm just going, hey, actually, I think that there's something to be learned from both worlds. Yes, I understand, brothers, we are not professionals in the sense of what we've been called to do in our focus, but also going, what can I learn from the professionals? And I think the professionals get to turn back around and go, what can I learn from my pastors?
Wouldn't that be great, though? I mean, I think this is what I hear often, is that pastors feel threatened by a business leader in a church. Is like, okay, why don't you just handle business? Like, I'll take care of the ministry part. You handle the business part. And the business people are like, I'll give you some money, but like, and I'll have some thoughts. And I'm giving you a lot of money right now, or tithing. So I have a lot of control. I should have a lot of say. There is this tension and divide currently, I think, in many churches. I'm proud of our church for not having that. But I think more like, what an amazing thing that it would be that church leaders could recognize that potential in their congregation and go, hey, help me, right? There's a vulnerability on both sides to say like, hey, let's help each other. We can do this.
But when that curiosity and that humility and that level of leadership comes together, that's when the professional, the business leader, the entrepreneur is going, teach me how to care for my people better,
Yes.
pastor.
And my community.
And then the pastor goes, hey, you're also a really good business leader. Can you teach me organizational architecture? Can you teach me financial management? Can
Communications,
you teach me
branding.
process? Exactly. All those things that you just mentioned. When that humility, when that curiosity is there, that's when that learning on both sides is happening. And I just think there's something so beautiful about that. And it's so necessary. I need it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just something 15 years of doing ministry I've noticed. Right. And I'm in nonprofit, so a parachurch ministry. So there's a balance there of, it's not a church, and I very much have to run it like a business, but we have a mission. And so I've spent a lot of time having to learn how to read a profit and loss sheet and all the things. I got into it wanting to do ministry, but then learned very quickly, I got to learn how to run a company, or I'm not going to be able to. The mission isn't going to be able to even happen, and I'm going to have to hire people that have a heart for ministry, and I'm going to have to learn the business side of this also to make sure that they're able to accomplish their goals. But the more that I got into it, the more I'd be having these conversations with business owners, and they're having this exact conversation with amongst themselves. And and the churches and the pastors oftentimes are having that conversation, like he said, of, this is our ministry. We just want the businesses to just, you go do business and tithe. But there's so much to learn from each other. And so that's why I sparked that question. And I might have jumped the gun on that because I have some other things I wanted to ask you guys, but that's why I asked that question. Mm-hmm. So I was curious from a business owner's perspective, your thoughts on that and how you see ways that the business world could help the church.
I think you just nailed it on the head when you contrasted learning being against tithing. It's like, you understand that my business has more value than just the ability to deliver funds, because sometimes those don't exist. Am I useless to the organizations around me when I don't have money? We talk about at FOS that we have like 4 assets that we can give to organizations and nonprofits. We can give our time. We'll go and volunteer. We pay our team to go volunteer their time. We will pay them extra PTO. We call it VTO, volunteer time off, to go and volunteer in communities. So we have our time. We have our talent. Like, hey, we'll help you do branding for free, or a free new website, or we'll help you out with this campaign, or we'll do all of your event branding. We have our treasure. We can give our finances when, by God's grace, we have that available. We give away 50% of all of our profit to go fund some really cool visions that God has given us to care for women and children impacted by extreme poverty and sex trafficking. We get to partner with other leaders to do that. But in addition to our time, talent, and treasure, we also have our own brand identity. And what we've decided at FOS is that there are some people to whom we will give our time, talent, and treasure, but there's one local and one global organization for whom we will give everything that we have as a company, time, talent, treasure, and our own identity. We'll talk about you on our website. We will commit to you. I called a local nonprofit leader 4 years ago in our community who fights sex trafficking in our area. And I said, hey, Allison, I just want you to know, I've been praying, seeking the Lord. God told me, like, I want to give my company to you. Anything that you want, we will help you with. And like any good executive nonprofit, executive director at a nonprofit, she goes, oh my gosh, thank you so much. Hangs up the phone and goes, they'll never do anything. I met with her like a month ago, and she said, Brandon, when you told me that, I hung up the phone and I thought, we'll see if anything ever happens. She wrote us a 2-page long letter that I got to share with my team, in which she detailed with tears in her eyes the ways that FOS has been able to impact and change this nonprofit. Yeah. We've give time, talent, treasure, and our own identity. We'll promote you. We will be behind you. We'll give everything we can to ensure your success. I think that's a partnership between a nonprofit and a business, a church and a business, that it's not going to happen unless there's some humility, some real big conviction, commitment.
Yeah. And Brandon has done an amazing job at FOS to commit 50% of his profits. It's not a small amount.
Yeah. That's
if you canvas, we give 10% of our dollars in finance, and we give time in a really specific way, which I'll talk about, but just to hype on FOS a little bit, like they do an incredible job there. And I think that's one of the reasons why God has blessed your business and blessed you to be a blessing for these organizations, right? To create compassion centers, to help this sex trafficking house in Gainesville. It's amazing. Yeah, I heard a story in C12 also of an organization that was just like kind of getting along. I think it's in the legal industry. She's just like getting by. She felt convicted that God spoke to her and said, you need to not tithe 10% on your profit. You need to tithe 10% on your gross. I just want, like, people who aren't finance people listening to this, that is crazy. That is a large number, because some people have 10% profit. So that's like 100%. Like, you might as well stay home type of calling, right?
Yeah.
And she said, I'm going to do it. And they put a number out there and that said, I want to try to give $1 million, or I'm going to try to get, I think it was like they were barely profitable, and they gave and were in the red for the first year or two, and then God grew her business 10x.
It's amazing.
To get to the point where she can be a blessing. Was blessed to be a blessing. It's crazy.
That's incredible, man. I think, yeah, it's hard. I can understand from Allison's perspective because it's weird being in this chair, because everywhere you go, people will tell you, and I'll just be honest with you from a business perspective, everywhere I go, people will be like, I love what you guys are doing. I want to give. And they'll tell you the world. They're going to give you the world. And you're in this because you're seeing women being raped and abused. And so so it's really hard when you believe them. And then you find out later on, maybe, I'm not exaggerating this, 10 to 20% of people do what they say they're going to do.
Yeah.
So you end up getting jaded and hardened a little bit, and it's hard, and you have to remind yourself, like, so you get that some of them will do what they say, and those are the ones that change the world with you. And but yeah, you go out and talk to people and share the mission, and they're just so hyped. And a lot of times they'll be with their friends, so they want to look good and say, hey, we're going to get behind you, and then you just never hear them again. But they're trying to network with this person, so they want to look good and say, hey, we want to fight trafficking, and then you never hear from them again, or we're going to do this and this and this. And so I can see from Allison's perspective, so the fact that you actually kept your word probably changed the whole dynamic of their whole organization.
Oh yeah, forever.
Yeah. And probably brought a lot of healing to her. I've been blessed because we have a lot of great people that do keep their word, but all the time you're going and speaking and doing stuff, people are coming up to you, and some of the stuff, bro, that I've been promised, like that club should have been paid off 10 times over, and we're still, trying to get a match for the building. And you just end up having to learn. You just have to rely on God, and you just pray more, and you go, Lord, just touch their hearts. Like, I can't bend anybody's arm and make them do this.
And not become jaded to not share the mission.
To not quit.
Yeah.
So many people end up just getting jaded and quit. And I think that's the biggest thing, is just to keep pushing forward and to keep moving. And, so I commend you for keeping your word.
One of my core values in life is the first on my list is the word faithfulness. I wrote a book a year and a half ago called "It Is Not Your Business to Succeed."
5 stars.
And
5.5 stars.
out of 5. It's based on a quote by C.S. Lewis writing to his friend Malcolm in Letters to Malcolm. Malcolm's talking about this hard challenge. I want these results and I'm not seeing it. And C.S. Lewis writes back and says, it is not your business to succeed, but only to do what is right and then entrust the results to a faithful God. And us just going, actually, God, I'm not the one in charge of my results, my outcomes, all these different things that I tie all my definition of success to and my identity to in my nonprofit, in my parenting of my children. Oh, they struggle with this. I'm such a horrible parent. That's an outcome-based mindset. You can't control your children. You can't control your outcomes in your business. You can't control the people you meet in public who say, oh yeah, we gonna make this happen. You're like, yeah, well, our call, be faithful. Don't stop sharing that mission.
Yeah.
Don't stop loving on your people.
Yeah.
We got to hear Ike Whitaker on stage, his father and the impact that his father had. We were back in the green room and Ike's father came back.
Stopped calling.
That's what he said.
Yeah.
My father, he never stopped calling and he never stopped picking up the phone. You know what that is? Faithfulness.
Yeah.
God, help me, please, with my son, with my wife, that I just wouldn't stop picking up the phone.
Brandon foolishly did not consult me before writing his book, but because God was speaking to me about very similar things. This idea that faith is an action. The idea that when we think about the word faith, we're often thinking about, I believe in, right? You put your faith in something. But being faithful to my wife is not me believing in her. It's me working towards denying other things and focusing on her. There is, and if you have this calling, and this is basically what the book talks about, I think. If you have this calling and you know that that God's pointing you in this direction, you can just continue to take steps towards that and leave the distractions behind. They said no, okay, that's fine. This is we champion, Brandon and I both champion something called EOS. It's like an entrepreneurial operating system.
Oh yeah, man, let's go.
Yeah, I like swim in the EOS Kool-Aid.
Okay.
I give away traction books, but one thing that is super hateful, super helpful about traction in EOS is that it's a system that encourages faithfulness, in my opinion, because you set the goal, you set rocks, you set goals, and then you work towards them. You keep people accountable, and then you don't waver. You don't worry about like all the distractions and things things are going to happen, but you just go step by step. Okay, that's fine. Let's do the next thing. Here's the 3 things that we can do. Okay, this blew up. All right, what are the 3 things that we can do now? Okay, let's take those actions. Let's check back next week. I mean, there's just like this rhythm of it that is it puts me at such peace.
Dude, that's so good. I should have consulted with you, man.
Yeah, obviously, bro.
EOS as a faithfulness tool. That's fantastic, man.
I'm gonna go tell Will, my COO, that he's gonna freak out. He implemented EOS with helping captives, and I'm like
Nice.
a 11 out of 10 visionary and a 2 out of 10 integrator, so I needed some help. And he's ex-military and very so he has been such a blessing to the organization. So I love that. But see, that's one thing I learned from a ministry perspective, actually sitting down with business owners. Because none of my ministry and pastor friends are talking about EOS system, right?
Yeah.
Right. But I'm going, how do I? Because if I'm not faithful in my position, more women, aren't getting help. They're not getting rescued. They're not, and you can't put that all on myself.
Yeah.
But there is a truth behind it that we all have to be faithful in our position.
Can I just give you lift you up a little bit? In that one thought that you just said, I picked out like 2 or 3 things that are amazing about you. One, you're so driven on the mission of saving those women that everything else kind of falls away. It's like, I don't care. This is why I get up in the morning and I don't hit snooze. We have to save more women, like as many as possible. This ring could have been another, like the Schindler's List kind of mentality. Your mission is so strong. You know it. So I think you're going to be fine. The vulnerability also and the humility that you have in being able to take that, because I don't know. I know a lot of visionaries I happen to have been one of those visionaries in the past of like, the vision is so strong. I'm just like running after the thing and neglecting the there's no processes, James. Like, we're struggling here. Like, can you help us? Please stop. Please don't start another thing. Right. Like I ignored those, but now, I've been reformed by some of that. But I hear the vulnerability there of listening to that desire of the systems bring peace for your team, bring peace and actual progress to make that mission happen.
So applying that to leaders and entrepreneurs for a minute, my passion, what I'm really passionate about, is helping other leaders develop for their for-profit company a mission that is so worth chasing that they, like you, would for-profit feel that same sense of conviction over their mission. I can't not be faithful to this thing that God's called me to in entrepreneurship and business, because I have a mission that's so worth chasing where they can connect it. You wake up and you go, I got to get better. I got to go figure this out because women are going to be rescued from trafficking. What if a for-profit business could do that? We have a vision at FOS to launch 100 care centers around the world that care for women and children impacted by extreme poverty and sex trafficking by 2030. We have 38 care centers right now in 19 different countries serving over 6,000 women and children. And we've been able to do that with other generous leaders like James. James and I have co-launched one in Mexico and co-launched one in the Philippines as well. I get to help my people see when you come into the office, when you work from home and you bang on your keyboard all day long. It's not just email. It's not just X. It's not just LinkedIn. You're helping women and children go free from sex trafficking and extreme poverty. What a reason to wake up this morning. What a cool thing. I'm doing that as a for-profit marketing agency.
Yeah.
What a cool opportunity exists for us to do that in business for profit as well.
Yeah.
Brandon and I are partners in this, and I take away 0 from what you just said. I love this mission. Our mission is slightly different. around helping people thrive. So have you seen Chariots of Fire?
Yeah.
Okay, some young people have not seen it. Eric Liddell, this idea, 2 runners, they're running, one for selfish ambition, one for because this is the way that he was called to. This amazing moment in this movie, his sister and him walking, and she's like, man, you just want to run, and I know how bad you want to win. He stops her in her place and goes, whoa, I don't just run because I want a medal. I run because when I run, I was made to run fast, and when I run fast, I feel God's pleasure. This brought me to tears, and I love what Brandon is doing. Our mission is slightly different in that I want people to find that thing that drives them in their daily activity, because I feel like I feel alive in my calling, and I want people to find that in the thing that they do, in addition to like the grander mission and the people that we serve. Like, I love all that. We champion that. We want to help the less fortunate and the needy, but absolutely, like, there is something that we're built for.
These two things that you just shared,
they're not exclusive. Yeah.
No, they're not. Like, that's what's so beautiful is like just a leader, an entrepreneur asking like, what is the thing? What is the pleasure of God? Is it running? It's not running for me. But when I've seen James chase this mission and fulfill it and get to tell me a story about how he's helped a leader, a business to do what they're passionate about, my goodness, he's lit. Dude is so super hype and excited. Yeah. If each business owner could know, this is the thing God's called me to, a greater purpose beyond just banging on keyboards and running profit.
Yeah. See, that's my heart, and I'm so happy to be able to talk to you guys about that. I want people to take their area of influence and also go help an area of need, and that's what you guys have been about. So last question as we wrap up here. James, if little James was listening to this podcast, what's one thing you'd tell him?
Stop being so stupid, you little stupid kid. Listen to the people around you. I got to share this with Brandon, and he's been stealing it from me, so I'm going to try to solidify that I help Brandon with it. So one of my core values has always been about efficiency. So as also a visionary, like I love when things just click and it's efficient and things just work. I love it, right? Painfully in business and in my life, I found that love is inefficient. You cannot love efficiently. You can't build a system, a process, a technology, an automation to love people. And that is what we're called to do. And so I would tell little James that, like, hey, stop ignoring the people around you. You have to stop. You have to pause, because your actual calling is loving people. And in order to do that right, you're gonna have to waste time doing it.
Yeah. What about Brandon? What would you say to little Brandon?
Well, James, I'm glad you said that, because I do steal that all the time.
I know,
Love
dude.
is not efficient,
Bro,
Yeah,
that's why I went to him first.
You're gonna see it on my some merch soon, like probably some socks. Here's what I'd say: your glory is too little a thing to live for.
Yeah.
It is so tempting for me to just give all of myself to making much of me in every platform and every situation that I possibly can. I found myself 2 nights ago as I was prepping for the first day of Be Bold for Jesus, just sitting in my room repenting and just saying, God, take everything that I do and everything that I have and every platform that I and every ounce of influence. I just want it to be about you. Like, cleanse these. And it doesn't mean I need to go step away from them and stop doing them. I'm just saying, Jesus, just purify what is inside of me. Make me clean so that everything I do in all my life and all my business and my family and my marriage would be for your glory, because living for my glory is just far too little.
Come on, man. I love that. Thank you guys so much. It's been an honor to get to know you and hang out and to hear you guys' story. And it's great to get a perspective from people that are in business. And oftentimes, as somebody that's mostly in ministry, there's just so much that we can learn from each other.
Yep.
You know, there's different mountains for different reasons, and there's business and government and education and all these different things. And we need to learn from each other to go impact and advance the kingdom.
And we need faithful leaders in every single one of those domains.
So it's been an honor to connect with you guys. as we wrap up, go ahead and let people know how they can follow you, follow your business and your website. And then, Brandon, if you could do the same, that'd be great. And then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, Figments, fig like the fruit, mints like figments, fig like the fruit, mints like the candy, FIGMINTS. You can find us on the best place is probably LinkedIn for business stuff. James at Figments is jamesatfigments.com is an easy way to get to me.
Yeah, our website is foscreative.com, PHOS, foscreative.com. I'm on LinkedIn as well, Brandon Michael West. You can look me up there. Would love to connect.
Come on, man. All right, guys. It's
Thanks
great
for all your
meeting
work,
you.
dude.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
Grateful for you, man.
Awesome.
I hope you really enjoyed this episode. If you want to hear more episodes like this, please subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell. Your subscription helps us reach way more people with these messages. If you would like to come join us at the next Be Bold for Jesus conference, please go to BeBoldForJesus.com. You're going to hear from leaders like Dallas Jenkins from The Chosen, Greg Laurie, Ray Comfort, and many others boldly living out their faith in today's culture. Again, that's BeBoldForJesus.com to get your tickets. Bring your family, bring your friends, and come be encouraged. We can't wait to see you there.